There are mornings when you wake up with ambition filling your mind, but not enough strength to get out of your own bed. The alarm goes off at 5:30. You stare at it for a few seconds, then tell yourself, just 5 more minutes. And the scary thing is, many people's lives are built from those 5 more minutes. Not because they're stupid, not because they lack potential, and not because they don't know what they need to do. They know. They know they need to exercise. They know they need to start that project. They know they need to read more books. They know they need to change. But they only take action when they feel like it. And that is the most dangerous trap, because emotions change every day. Some days you're full of energy. Some days you doubt yourself. Some days you feel unstoppable, but there are also days when just one small criticism is enough to make you want to quit. If your life is controlled by emotions like that, then your future will always be unstable. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 powerful principles that can help you regain control of yourself, build self-discipline, and stop letting temporary emotions destroy your long-term ambitions. And stay until the end, because principle number 9 might be the one thing that helps you escape the procrastination loop you've been trapped in for years. Principle 1. Emotions are messengers, not leaders. There is one mistake that many people make in this life. They think their emotions are absolute truth. If they feel confident, they act. If they feel motivated, they begin. But when the confidence disappears, when the motivation is gone, everything stops with it. And then they ask themselves, why does my life never change? I want you to understand something that took me a very long time to realize. Emotions are only messengers. They are not the leaders of your life. Think about it like a weather report. The presenter says, today it will rain, tomorrow will be cold, there may be a storm next week. That's information. But you wouldn't hand over the keys to your life to the weather reporter just because they said it's raining. You still decide where you're going. You still continue living your life. Emotions are the same. They simply report the current condition. I'm tired. I'm anxious. I'm not in the mood. Okay, thanks for the information. But the problem begins when you turn emotions into decision makers. I remember when I was 24 years old, a time when I was trying to build something for myself. Every week I made very detailed plans, but when it came time to execute them, if the feeling wasn't right that day, I stopped. If I felt discouraged, I procrastinated. If I lacked confidence, I abandoned the idea before even starting. And the dangerous part was that everything sounded reasonable. I just need to rest today. I'll get back to it tomorrow. But then tomorrow became next week. Next week became a few months later. And years passed while my life stayed exactly the same. That was when I realized a painful truth. Many people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they only act when their emotions allow them to. According to behavioral psychology research, the human brain does not clearly distinguish between emotions and facts. When you feel unprepared, your brain processes it almost as if you truly are not capable enough. That's why many talented people still remain stuck. But here's what I want you to remember. You do not need to eliminate emotions. You are not a robot. You can still feel tired and keep moving forward. You can still feel afraid and continue working. You can still say, today is really hard, and still keep the promises you made to yourself. That's not fake. That's maturity. Because mature people understand this. Emotions are weather, not the compass of your life. Principle 2. Comfort is quietly killing your ambition. Comfort does not appear like an enemy. It does not hurt you immediately. It does not destroy your life overnight. On the contrary, comfort often appears like a very pleasant friend. It says, you're already tired. It's okay to rest today. You can start tomorrow. And because it sounds so reasonable, many people fail to realize that the thing silently destroying their ambition is not failure, but comfort. There is a concept in psychology called hedonic adaptation. Humans tend to quickly become accustomed to comfort and lose motivation when there are no more challenges. That explains why many people stop, not because things are too hard, but because they've become too used to never being truly challenged. Imagine comfort as an incredibly soft couch. At first, sitting down feels wonderful. You say, I'll just rest for a little while. But then you sit longer, and longer, and the longer you sit, the less motivation you have to stand up. Many people are living their entire lives this way. They are not truly happy, but they are also not uncomfortable enough to change. They are stuck in the middle zone, not growing but not collapsing either. And that is where dreams slowly die, not in major failure, but in prolonged comfort. The most dangerous thing is that comfort often disguises itself as self-care. Don't misunderstand me. Rest is necessary. But there is a huge difference between rest and escape. Rest makes you stronger so you can return to the fight. Escape only helps you temporarily forget that you are running away. Many people say, I need more rest, but the truth is they are avoiding discomfort. And every time you choose escape instead of growth, your ambition becomes a little weaker, until one day you begin living smaller than your true potential. I want you to ask yourself one brutally honest question. Is there something in your life that you know is destroying your future, but you continue doing it anyway simply because it feels comfortable? Comfort is not the reward of life. It is the test. And on the other side of discomfort is the strongest version of yourself. Principle 3, stop negotiating with yourself every morning. There is a conversation happening inside the minds of millions of people every morning. The alarm goes off and immediately the negotiation begins. What if I sleep 10 more minutes? Today probably won't matter. I can start being serious tomorrow. Sound familiar? The scary part is that many people think those negotiations are normal. But I want to tell you something directly. Every time you negotiate with your emotions, you are teaching your brain that your promises have no value. Think about it this way. If you had an employee and every day they said, I'm not in the mood to work today, or I'll try harder tomorrow, how long would you trust that person? Probably not very long. But strangely, many people accept that behavior from themselves for years. And here's something most people don't know. Self-confidence does not come from motivational videos. It does not come from compliments. It does not come from positive thinking. It comes from saying you will do something and actually doing it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become a little stronger. Every time you break a promise, your identity becomes a little weaker. Over time, you start seeing yourself as someone who never follows through. That's why many people always feel stuck, not because they lack ability, but because they have repeatedly betrayed their own goals too many times. The solution is not stronger willpower. The solution is pre-decision, deciding before emotions appear. If you want to wake up early, don't decide when the alarm rings. Decide the night before and place your phone far from your reach. If you want to exercise, don't wait to see whether you'll be in the mood tomorrow morning. Prepare your workout clothes the night before. If you want to write a book, don't sit around waiting for inspiration. Decide in advance. At 7 p.m., I will sit at my desk. The fewer times you negotiate with emotions, the more stable your life becomes. Because emotions are very good at arguing. They always have reasons. But life does not change because of reasonable excuses. It changes through repeated action. And when you stop negotiating with yourself, you begin creating momentum. And momentum is what creates real motivation. Principle 4, action creates motivation, not the other way around. One of the biggest lies modern people believe is this: I'll start when I feel motivated. That sentence has kept millions of people standing still for years. They wait for inspiration to write, wait for motivation to work out, wait for confidence to begin, wait for the right mood to change their life. And while they wait, time keeps moving. I want to tell you something very few people understand. Motivation is not what creates action. Action is what creates motivation. American psychologist William James once said, "We do not sing because we are happy. We are happy because we sing." Action comes first. Emotion comes after. I remember very clearly there was a time when I had to prepare for a big speech. I was not in the mood. I had no energy. I felt tired and wanted to procrastinate. But then I sat down and simply started. The first 5 minutes were difficult. After 10 minutes, things started flowing. After 30 minutes, I was completely focused. That was when I realized what I thought I lacked was not motivation. What I lacked was simply initial movement. You start running, then your body warms up. You start writing, then ideas appear. You start working, then energy follows afterward. But if you keep standing still, waiting for perfect emotions, you will wait a very long time. Maybe your whole life. The hardest part of almost anything is usually just starting, not doing. The most dangerous moment is not minute 30, but the first 90 seconds. Getting out of bed, opening the laptop, or continuing to procrastinate. Picking up the phone or getting to work. That is where most lives are decided. That's why I always say, make everything small enough that you cannot refuse it. If you don't want to go to the gym, just put on your shoes. If you don't want to write, just write one paragraph. If you don't want to work, just sit at your desk for 5 minutes. Don't try to conquer the whole mountain in your mind. Just take the first step. Because small action creates motion. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. That is how real self-discipline works, not through explosive emotions, but through small, repeated movement every day. Principle 5, discomfort is not danger. There is something quietly making people weaker every year. We are beginning to confuse discomfort with danger. Just because something makes you uncomfortable does not mean it is harming you. But many people react to discomfort as if it were a real threat. They avoid difficult conversations, new challenges, scary goals, not because they are dangerous, but because they make them uncomfortable. The human brain has an extremely sensitive protection system, the amygdala constantly trying to keep you safe. The problem is that it does not clearly distinguish between this could kill you and this will just make you uncomfortable for a few minutes. That's why your heart races when speaking in public, posting your first video, or trying something new, not because you are truly in danger, but because you are stepping into something unfamiliar. I have seen many people miss huge opportunities simply because they could not tolerate a few minutes of discomfort. They want confidence before taking action. But the truth is, confidence is built by surviving discomfort repeatedly. Nobody is confident the first time. The entrepreneur meeting clients for the first time is scared too. The creator posting their first video is nervous too. The difference is not that they do not feel discomfort, it is that they do not treat discomfort as a signal to stop. Discomfort is not a stop sign. It is often just a road sign saying, you are entering a growth zone. Remember this. The moments that make you grow the most in life are usually the moments of failure, rejection, and facing your fears. Nobody becomes stronger through comfort alone. And here's the most interesting part. Many things you are afraid of will only feel difficult during the first few minutes. After that, the mind adapts very quickly. The first gym workout is hard, then it becomes normal. The first video is hard, then it becomes normal. The first day of waking up early is hard, then it becomes normal. That is how human beings grow, not by avoiding discomfort, but by staying inside it long enough that it loses control over you. Ask yourself this. Is there something in your life you are avoiding, not because it is dangerous, but simply because it makes you uncomfortable? Because maybe that is exactly the doorway leading to a stronger version of yourself. Principle 6. Small daily promises build self-trust. There is something most people do not understand about self-confidence. They think it comes from major success, money, appearance, or compliments. No, those are only temporary forms of confidence. Real self-confidence is built from self-trust, from believing that when you say you will do something, you will actually do it. And the painful truth is that many people lost trust in themselves a long time ago, but nobody talks about it. They constantly break promises to themselves. Starting tomorrow, I'll wake up early. Starting next month, I'll change. But then nothing happens. Every time that happens, a piece of self-respect disappears. Because the brain always remembers it starts forming a new identity. This person does not do what they say. That is why many people lose motivation very quickly, not because the goal is wrong, but because deep inside they no longer believe they will follow through. I have experienced that feeling myself. And what I learned was the power of small promises, not massive transformations, but things so small that you cannot make excuses to avoid them. Read one page, write one paragraph, exercise for 5 minutes, sit at your work desk, open the laptop. Sounds too small, right? But you must understand, the real goal is not the action itself. The goal is rebuilding trust with yourself. Because every time you keep a small promise, you are sending a signal to your mind, I am someone who can be trusted. Life changes through consistency, not intensity. One small action done every day is always more powerful than one short burst of effort. I once knew a friend named Hung. He wanted to change his life. On the first day, he woke up at 5 a.m., worked out for 2 hours, read books, and worked extremely hard. By the 4th day, exhausted, disappeared, and returned to old habits. He repeated that cycle for 3 years. Start strong, then stop, then start strong again. After understanding this principle, he changed his approach. Just one small action each day, walk for 15 minutes, read 10 pages, write 1 paragraph, nothing more. 6 months later, he looked back and did not recognize himself anymore in the best possible way. Here's the magic. Most of the time, once you begin, you will continue. But even if you do not continue, you still win, because you kept your promise to yourself. Every small promise kept is a brick, and then one day you no longer need powerful motivation, because you have become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, no matter how they feel. That is real freedom. Principle 7. Fear usually sounds very reasonable. There is something about fear that I think many people have never realized. Fear rarely appears in its true form. It does not say, I'm trying to stop you from living a bigger life. No, fear is much smarter than that. It disguises itself. It wears a suit. It speaks calmly. It sounds extremely reasonable. It says, wait a little longer. You need to prepare more carefully. Wait for a better time. And because everything sounds so logical, you do not realize you are being controlled by fear. I have met people with huge dreams. They wanted to start a business, write a book, change careers. But year after year, they stayed in exactly the same place. Not because they were not good enough, But because fear kept speaking in the voice of logic, you need to learn more. Wait until you have enough money. Wait until you feel more confident. And the most dangerous thing is this: nobody can completely argue against those reasons, because part of them sounds correct. That is how fear works. It does not ask you to give up your dream. It only asks you to delay a little longer, and then a little longer turns into years. There is a huge difference between real caution and fear disguised as caution. A truly cautious person says, I will research for 2 weeks and make a decision on this date. But fear says, wait longer. Yet it never says, wait until when. That is the sign you need to pay attention to. If you cannot clearly identify when you will begin, what specific conditions need to happen, or what the real deadline is, then it is probably not strategy. It is fear. And here's what I learned after many years. Life rarely rewards the person who feels the most ready. It usually rewards the person willing to start while still afraid. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. Every time you act while still afraid, fear loses a little power, and you become a little stronger, until one day the thing that once terrified you becomes normal. That is how confidence is built, not through thinking, but through evidence. Principle 8, define who you are, and actions will follow. If Principle 6 is about doing small things every day, then Principle 8 is about something even deeper: who you believe you are. Because actions change every day depending on your mood, but identity is what determines who you become after 5 years. There is a huge difference between I'm trying to work out and I am someone who takes care of my body every day. One is a temporary action. The other is a definition of who you are. When something becomes part of your identity, you stop arguing with yourself so much. A smoker trying to quit will say, I'm trying not to smoke. But someone who has truly changed their identity will say, I am not a smoker. Do you see the difference? One person is still negotiating. The other has redefined themselves. Many people want to become successful, disciplined, confident, but deep inside, their identity is still. Someone who quits easily, someone who procrastinates, someone who never follows through. And you cannot continuously act against your identity for very long. Eventually, you will return to the person you believe you are. That is why real self-discipline does not begin with actions, it begins with identity. Every day you are casting votes for the kind of person you want to become. Every small action is a vote. When you wake up on time, even when you do not want to, you are telling your mind, this is who I am. When you keep a promise, even when it is difficult, you are saying, I am trustworthy. When you continue even without the mood, you are saying, I do not let emotions decide my future. And over time, your identity begins to change. Not overnight, but little by little. When your identity becomes strong enough, you no longer need so much willpower. Actions become more natural, not because you are always motivated, but because those actions align with the person you have chosen to become. Try changing the way you speak to yourself starting today. Don't say, I'm trying to become disciplined. Say, I am someone who keeps promises to myself. Language creates identity. Identity creates action. Repeated action creates destiny. Principle 9. The life you want requires emotional maturity. This is the principle I think most people need to hear the most. I have met incredibly intelligent people, much smarter than many successful people out there. They had ideas, knowledge, potential, but their lives were still stuck. Why? Because they could not control their emotions. One criticism made them quit. One small failure made them doubt themselves. One difficult period made them stop. Most of them never realized where the real problem was. They thought they lacked motivation. But what they truly lacked was emotional maturity. The ability to tolerate frustration, uncertainty, boredom, delayed gratification, the ability to continue without seeing immediate results. That is what truly builds a great life. When a child wants something, they want it immediately. No patience, no delayed gratification. And many adults are still living that same way. Modern society is making this worse. Everything is too instant. You post a photo, immediate dopamine. You feel sad, immediate distraction. Gradually, people lose the ability to sit with discomfort, lose the ability to go through a long process without immediate results. But listen to me carefully. Real life does not reward emotional impulsiveness. It rewards emotional stability. A great business is not built in a few weeks. A healthy body is not created in a few days. Everything valuable requires time, repetition, patience, consistency. And all of those require emotional maturity. The hardest moment is not the beginning, it is when you still do not see results but must continue anyway. That is where most people quit. Emotionally mature people understand that not every day is exciting. There are days that are boring, exhausting, doubtful, and unmotivated, but they still show up. That is the difference. I want you to imagine two people. The first person, every action depends on emotions. Good days are amazing, bad days make everything collapse. The second person experiences the same emotions, but does not let emotions decide commitment. After 5 years, whose life will be different? Obviously, the second person. Not because they are smarter, but because they are more stable. Real freedom is not doing everything you want. Real freedom is no longer being dragged in every direction by your emotions. Emotional maturity does not turn you into a robot. It turns you into the leader of yourself. Motivation helps you start. Emotional maturity helps you continue. And life usually belongs to those who know how to continue even when nobody is cheering, there is no dopamine, and there is no applause. Maturity is not when you stop feeling fear. Maturity is when you understand. Fear no longer has the right to decide your future. Principle 10. Your future cannot keep waiting for your emotions to give permission. Time does not care how you feel. It keeps moving. Whether you are motivated or not, whether you are confident or not, whether you are ready or not, the calendar still flips to a new day. And that is what makes life painful for many people when they look back, not because they never had dreams, but because they spent too many years waiting for emotions to give them permission to begin. I want you to imagine a scene. 10 years from now, you open your old laptop. It is still the same plan, the same idea, the same dream you once said, someday I'll do it, but life has passed by. You got busy, you procrastinated, you waited for a better mood, waited for the right time, waited to feel ready, and then 10 years disappeared. The most painful thing about wasted potential is not failure, it is knowing that you could have become so much more. Not I tried and failed, but I never truly started. Because when you never start, a part of you will always wonder, what if I had been braver that day? And those questions haunt people far longer than failure ever does. I want you to deeply understand this. Feelings are temporary. Consequences are long-term. Emotions only last a few minutes, but the decisions created from those emotions can affect years of your life. One morning you do not want to wake up early. That feeling only lasts a few minutes. But if you repeat that for 5 years, your life will become completely different. And the scary thing is, everything happens very slowly, so slowly that you do not notice it, like water dripping onto stone. At first, nothing seems to happen, but after many years, the entire rock is worn away. That is how emotional living destroys ambition, not loudly, not dramatically. Just one more delay, one more excuse, one more broken promise to yourself. Until one day you look back and no longer recognize the person you once wanted to become. But I do not want you to leave here with guilt. That is not my purpose. The lost days are already lost. What matters is that you see the truth early enough to change direction. Because the moment you stop asking emotions for permission to act, your life begins to change. Not instantly, but definitely. You begin trusting yourself more, becoming more consistent, stronger. And then one day you realize the thing that once controlled you so much is no longer that frightening. Discomfort still exists. Fear still exists. Self-doubt still exists. But they are no longer driving the car. You are the one driving now. That is real freedom, not that life is no longer difficult, but that you no longer allow temporary emotions to decide the most important parts of your life. Because in the end, your life will always follow the direction of your actions, not the direction of your feelings. And if today you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. You do not need to feel ready to begin changing your life. You just need to stop handing the steering wheel over to your emotions. What have you been delaying for too long simply because you didn't feel inspired? Leave a comment below, I read them all. And if this video resonated with you, hit like and subscribe, because the journey of building self-discipline, emotional strength, and a life you are truly proud to look back on is still continuing. I'll see you in the next video.